You ever get that feeling, like the universe is just itching to teach you a lesson, but it has to start with making you look like the town lunatic first? Because that's how this whole mess began. Not with a storm or a courtroom or some epic showdown. No, it started with laughter. At me. If you'd asked anyone on Ridgeview Lane a year ago, they'd probably tell you I was that paranoid prepper guy. You know the type: triple insulated doors, generator out back, backup cables buried under 2 feet of gravel. I was the punchline at the HOA's wine nights, the warning whispered to new buyers. Watch out for Graham at Lot 17. He thinks the world's ending every November. Yeah, that was me. And I didn't mind. Not at first. What I minded was when they fined me for snow fencing, called it an eyesore, then sabotaged the generator that kept my daughter alive. That's not paranoia. That's survival. But, hey, maybe you live somewhere where folks don't mistake safety for stubbornness. If so, count yourself lucky. Here's how it happened. The night everything went dark, I stood on my porch, hands jammed in pockets, breath rising in thick clouds, and watched $100,000 worth of luxury homes flicker out one by one. I could see the silhouettes moving inside, flashlights dancing behind curtains. People tripping over ottomans, fumbling for matches. One guy actually smacked his garage door like it had insulted him. Down the street, a car alarm howled and died, leaving a silence so thick I could hear the wind scraping ice off the gutters. Inside, my daughter Amelia slept, tucked under quilts. Her oxygen unit thrummed steady, a sound I've learned to love and hate in equal measure. She's 16, built like her mother, lungs like a moth's wing. Cold air is her enemy. It sneaks in, settles deep, does damage no medicine can undo. That night, her battery was at 85%, the heater line glowing warm under my hand. I checked, double-checked, then went back outside. The snow had started piling up, but my driveway was clear, the porch lights still burning. Down the hill, the HOA clubhouse was black. No one to call. Nobody to find me for my unauthorized solar panel tonight. The rules, the notices, the threats, none of them meant a damn when winter finally came for Ridgeview. They'd spent years telling me what my house could look like, where my fence should go, what shade my generator shed ought to be painted. But when the lights went out, all their rules could have been written on the back of a snowflake. I stood there, watching the night swallow everything but my porch. And you know what? I almost pitied them. Almost. But let's rewind, because it didn't start with the blackout. It started with a clipboard. 3 months before that storm, I just finished bolting a passive solar heat panel to the south wall. Angled ugly as sin, sure, but efficient. The next morning, there's a notice duct taped to my porch. Non-compliant structure. Removed by November 15th. No warning, no knock, just a threat. I tried to reason, sent emails, attached building codes, cited studies. I even called. Nothing. Just crickets. Then, one morning, there's Karen, the president of the HOA. Mid-50s, pearls, SUV that costs more than my truck and garage combined. She's snapping pictures of my garage wrap. You can't have that, she says, lips pursed. It's not approved. I tell her it's a thermal barrier for my daughter's oxygen. She shrugs, says I could have painted it beige. I smile because what else can you do? I'm not optimizing for curb appeal. I tell her. I'm optimizing for survival. She just marks her clipboard and walks away. But that's the game in these places, isn't it? The rules are rules, even when they make no sense. I kept my cool, kept documenting, photos, emails, everything. I'd spent years in Alaska doing electrical systems on forward bases. You want to know what real cold is? Try -40 when your eyelids freeze. I wasn't prepping for Instagram. I was prepping because I knew what could happen when systems failed. But the fines kept coming. Window wraps, too industrial. Snow fencing, visual barrier. Heat trace cables, dangerous aesthetics. Every violation came with a bigger threat. Unpaid fines will result in property lien. Never mind that NOAA had us listed for a Category 4 cold surge, or that the whole town sat in a wind funnel. They had a vision for Ridge View, and I didn't fit. So I dug in. Battery reserves for 4 days, backup heat that ran without power, motion cams on every side. I was ready, or so I thought. Then Karen escalated, filed a county complaint, sent a contractor, her technician, to snoop around my yard, poking and measuring like he owned the place. I told him to leave, caught it all on camera. 3 days later, certified letter, dismantle off-grid system by December 12th, or else. I had less than 2 weeks before the freeze. And that same day, I found scratches on my breaker lock. Little chips in the paint, tool marks. Someone tried to get in. So, I swapped out the lock for a motion sensor camera. Didn't sleep much after that. Now, if you think this was about curb appeal, you haven't met power-hungry people with a petty rulebook. It was never about fences or foil. It was about control, about punishing anyone who stepped out of line. The first snow hit hard. I was on the roof, checking heat trace lines, when another board member, Jeff, accountant, neck like a vulture, handed me a notice of violation for my wind baffles. Not on the master plan, he said. You'll need committee approval. I told him they were windbreaks, basic physics, but he just shrugged. Not fair to other homeowners. Fair. Like symmetry was more important than my daughter's next breath. The anonymous complaints started then. Emails, app messages, ugly reflective things ruining the view. Enforce uniformity or remove his privileges. Privileges. Like owning property was a favor, not a right. So I filed a formal notice. Quoted the Montana law. No HOA can unreasonably restrict or interfere with health support installations. They responded with a backdated rule. Fines began to pile up, $250, $500, $300. They sent a photographer, snapping pictures of my generator, my medical lines. I called them out for trespass, sent the video to my lawyer, Ruben. His advice? Don't engage. Let them build the rope. So I did. I logged every notice, every visit. Found out Karen's cousin owned the company that billed the HOA for visual remediation. Nepotism dressed up as beautification. Started a binder, Ridge View misconduct. Physical and digital, encrypted. Because it was bigger than my house now. The cold got worse. Nights below zero. I watched a young couple, 2 doors down, try to chip open a frozen gate. Karen wasn't out there. She was hosting winter harmony meetings in the clubhouse. Sent me an invite, linen stock, gold trim. Straight into the stove it went. The morning I found the caution, non-compliance system sign staked by my driveway, something snapped. Not anger, just clarity. I walked to the community board and posted a note. When this storm hits and the grid fails, my system will last. If you need heat, oxygen, shelter, knock. No questions asked. I wasn't expecting a response. But a couple days later, a note slipped under my door. We see what they're doing. We're with you. No signature. Smelled like peppermint tea. Mrs. Davenport, probably. Fine last summer for excess garden flags. The storm was coming, and the HOA didn't see it. But the neighborhood was fracturing. The paperwork avalanche got worse. 6 violations, 3 reminders, a threat of lien. Notices laminated, pristine, always quoting the covenant, even if it made no sense. The worst came after the first ice fog. Duct taped to the generator. Escalating noncompliance. No name, but I recognized Karen's scrawl. I showed Amelia, had her photograph the signature. We kept a file. Her handwriting matched against every threat. Then my snow fencing vanished. Gone. Ripped up, mesh dumped at the tree line. No note, just a sign. Private common area. Unauthorized structure removed by order of HOA. I checked the camera. Karen's SUV. 2 contractors. 5 minutes. Fence gone. Karen sipped coffee, watched, never lifted a finger. Sent the video to Ruben. Property damage. Possibly criminal. Check if HOA insurance covers this. Turns out the contractor who billed for the job was Jeff's nephew. Nepotism again. I added it to the file, but the fines kept coming. $1, $7.50 that week. One for unauthorized snow fencing, another for visual disruption because my generator was forest green, not earth tone beige. I left a message on their hotline. Please consider this call part of an official dispute log. No reply. The next day, they locked me out of the HOA app. Amelia noticed first. They deleted our heating rebate application. That grant was supposed to help pay for fuel. Now nothing. They were freezing us out on paper, in court, in code. Not just me. Mrs. Davenport stopped picking up her mail. Her pilot light was out. Gas line turned off over a chimney violation. I called Ruben. If they're targeting her too, we've got a pattern. He dropped the word. RICO. Abuse of power. If more residents come forward, we escalate to the AG. That's when things got ugly. It started subtle. A voltage flicker, just enough for my diagnostic system to notice. I went outside, new do not tamper tag, new lock on my panel. Boot prints in the frost. I checked their winter bulletin, new clause, retroactively signed by Karen. HOA technicians may access shared infrastructure. Completely illegal. I forwarded everything to Ruben. He called, if they manipulated your system directly, that's criminal interference. I brought in an independent inspector, Luis, old Army buddy. He found the bypass was rerouted to itself. This wasn't an accident, he said. If the grid failed, your system would backfeed. Could have blown the inverter, or worse, the oxygen unit. We found a clipped thermostat wire, deliberate sabotage. They weren't just trying to prove me wrong. They were trying to make me fail, publicly, to make me the cautionary tale. That night, sitting by the generator, Amelia brought me cocoa. You gonna let them win? She asked. No, I said, but we play by my rules now. We backed up every file, every camera, every log. Sent a copy to Ruben, another to the cloud. 2 days later, a plain envelope arrived. USB, no return. They did the same to me last year. You're not alone. Footage of Jeff at another panel, breaking open a neighbor's box. I sent it to Ruben and the state. The last straw? Generator tripped at 2:11 a.m. Oxygen backup dropped to 22%. Only a qualified tech could have sent that remote kill signal. But I'd set up a fail-safe, a standalone alert, logged to the second. The Bluetooth signature traced back to Karen's cousin's company. They weren't just after me. They almost killed my daughter. I didn't sleep that night. I watched the cam logs frame by frame, saw headlights in the trees at exactly 2:11, someone moving on foot, opening my emergency box, clearing out, thermal blankets, spare inhalers, all gone. I was past fear. I called Ruben. Get subpoenas ready. I want telecom logs. I want a forensic tech. Next stop, sheriff's office. I brought the reports, the footage, the work order a local handyman handed me, bypass off-grid relay. Ensure visible inefficiency before next inspection. He'd refused, said felt wrong. I thanked him, added it to the pile. The sheriff? Old school. I need the smoking gun, he said. You give me that, I'll get you the chamber. That week, they fined me $1,250 for unauthorized recording, as if filming sabotage was the real crime. I laughed. Bitterness, not humor. Then Mrs. Davenport handed me years of HOA threats. Inside, a meeting agenda from last year. Target outlier homes for compliance demonstration. Select for early correction. My address circled. So was hers. More neighbors came forward. A handyman. A tech-savvy teen named Jonah cracked their internal app, found logs, chat messages, payouts to board members' relatives. It wasn't a few bad apples. It was rot all the way through. Then the storm hit. Not just snow, but a silence that pressed in. Temperature dropped 9 degrees in 20 minutes. Power failed house by house. Except mine. My systems held. I brewed coffee, watched the roads vanish. By mid-morning, my porch was crowded. Mrs. Davenport, shivering in scarves. Families who'd once turned away now huddled in my living room, sipping broth, eyes down. The calls for help came in, one after another, babies cold, pipes burst, no heat, nowhere to go. Karen never showed. Her vice president did, blue with cold. He couldn't meet my eyes. "Please," he said. "I'll let him in." That night, Karen called. "I'm freezing. My car won't start. I don't know what to do." I told her, "If you make it down the ridge, the door's unlocked. That's all I'll offer." She never came. When the snowmobile finally reached her, she was frostbitten, delirious, still complaining about illegal generators. When the thaw came, power crews moved slow. But my house stood, lights bright, generator humming. On the porch, a note: "You saved us. We remember everything." That week, we went on the offensive. Compiled every file, fines, photos, contracts, logs. Jonah found a hidden admin panel, evidence of coordinated sabotage. Ruben filed with the county, the state, the court. The board tried to make it private, but neighbors packed the clubhouse anyway. I read the evidence aloud: fraud, sabotage, retaliation. Mrs. Davenport spoke. "You almost killed his daughter. You almost killed me." Others chimed in: burst pipes, cold nights, fines for nothing. They voted. Right there. No confidence, board suspended, audit triggered. The state investigator found it all: embezzlement, forged invoices, duplicate payments to relatives. Over $70,000 missing. Within weeks, charges were filed. Karen's cousin Jeff, all of them. The Ridgeview HOA dissolved, assets frozen. Neighbors, once strangers, became a community again. No duas, no rudas. Just people, finally free to look out for each other. You might be wondering, did I get revenge? Is that what this is? Honestly, it doesn't feel like victory. It feels like survival. Like waking up, warm in your own home, with your kid breathing easy and nothing left to fear but the next winter, and maybe, just maybe, not even that. So let me ask you, where's the line? When does just following the rules turn into cruelty? When is it okay to fight back, not with fists, but with sunlight and records, and standing up for the quiet people nobody hears until it's almost too late? Tell me, if you'd been in my boots, would you have kept quiet? Or would you have started digging? Because I'll tell you, sometimes the only way to end a storm is to face it head on, one bitter, beautiful, blinding day at a time. And when it passes, you don't just survive. You build something worth surviving for. What would you have done? Let me know. I've heard enough from the Karens of the world. Now I want to hear from you.